In the heart of Darkwood Forest, where legends weave through ancient trees and terror lurks in the shadows, my friends and I stumbled into a super creepy situation that freaked us all out. As the wind howls like a sad wolf and the campfire flickers like ghosts dancing, Emma, John, Mike, and I huddle together, totally freaked by the whole vibe. Then, a blood-curdling howl ripped through the night, and a mysterious figure emerged from the darkness. Our weekend adventure turned into a nightmare. With one of us gone, lost in the sinister depths of the forest, the remaining trio must navigate treacherous terrain and face unspeakable horrors in a desperate bid to save our friend. Could we escape the spooky forest before it got to us all? Find out as we journey into the unknown, where every shadow holds a secret and every whispers might mean we're about to get totally doomed. The wind howled a mournful song through the skeletal branches of the ancient trees. We, a reckless quartet, Emma, the fearless leader, John, the ever-skeptical pragmatist, Mike, the easily swayed observer, and myself, the reluctant believer, had ventured deep into Darkwood Forest, notorious for its chilling legends and unsettling disappearances. Tonight, huddled around a crackling campfire that felt more like a flimsy shield than a source of warmth, the woods seemed less like a majestic escape and more like a hungry beast circling its prey. The playful optimism of a sun-drenched afternoon, when the idea had hatched, was now a distant memory. Emma, fueled by questionable coffee from a rusty thermos, spun a chilling tale of a young couple lost in these very woods, never to be seen again. Her voice, normally lively, had a tremor to it now, the flickering firelight catching the nervous glint in her eyes. Even John, usually dismissive, seemed to lean in a little closer, his initial bravado fading. Then came the sound that ripped through the chilling narrative, a long, mournful howl that echoed through the dense woods. It wasn't the bark of a coyote, but something deeper, more primal. It sent a collective gasp through our small group. We all looked towards the source of the sound, but the impenetrable darkness offered no answers. Silence descended again, broken only by the crackling fire and the ragged breaths of our strained chests. Emma fumbled with her phone, trying to activate the flashlight. When she finally did, a beam of light speared out into the darkness, revealing nothing except a curtain of gnarled branches and thick undergrowth. Suddenly, a twig snapped behind our makeshift campsite. We all whirled around, hearts hammering against our ribs. There, in the periphery of the light, stood a figure. Tall and gaunt, it was shrouded in shadow, its form barely discernible. A collective gasp escaped our lips. "Hello?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. The figure remained motionless, an unsettling silence hanging heavy in the air. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, it took a step forward. The firelight flickered across its face, revealing hollowed eyes and a skeletal grin. A scream ripped from Emma's throat, raw and primal. Fear propelled us into action. Adrenaline surged through our veins, erasing fear and replacing it with a desperate need to escape. We scrambled to our feet, grabbing backpacks and anything else we could find in the darkness. Emma, still screaming, tripped over a fallen log, momentarily separating us from the group. "Emma!" I yelled, but my voice was swallowed by the night. John and I sprinted blindly into the woods, the darkness a suffocating blanket. We ran on instinct, leaping over fallen branches and pushing through unseen bushes. We didn't know where we were going, only that every rustle of leaves behind us fueled the terror in our hearts. After what felt like an eternity, we stumbled into a clearing bathed in an eerie, silver moonlight. Gasping for breath, we collapsed onto a large, moss-covered rock. "Emma!" I called out into the stillness, my voice hoarse. There was no reply. Panic clawed at my throat. Had we been lured into a trap? Had the figure taken her? John, his face pale under the moonlight, squeezed my shoulder in a silent display of comfort. Neither of us dared to speak, the silence filled with the unspoken dread of what might have happened to Emma and Mike. Just as despair threatened to consume us, we heard a faint whimper. It came from the edge of the clearing, near a cluster of gnarled trees. We exchanged a nervous glance, our fear momentarily overshadowed by a sliver of hope. Cautiously, we tiptoed towards the sound. There, huddled beneath a large, twisted oak, we found Emma, tears streaming down her face. Relief washed over me in waves. "Mike?" I panted, my voice trembling. Emma shook her head, her eyes wide with terror. "He's gone." Her words were like a punch to the gut. The figure. It had taken Mike. The despair threatened to overwhelm us again, but Emma, despite her tears, forced some semblance of coherence. She'd been yanked back when she tripped, the figure pinning her down before disappearing into the undergrowth with Mike. Driven by fear and a sliver of determination, she'd managed to escape and find us. The clearing felt less like a safe haven now, more like a stage waiting for the next horrific act. We couldn't stay, but venturing deeper into the woods without a plan felt like suicide. Emma, ever the leader, suggested we follow the direction the figure had taken Mike. Maybe, just maybe, we could find him. Our progress was slow and agonizing. Every creak of a branch, every flitting shadow sent chills down our spines. The moon, once a beacon in the clearing, now played tricks on our desperate eyes, turning harmless tree trunks into menacing figures. The woods seemed to be alive, the darkness itself pushing against us, making every step a battle against unseen forces. Hours stretched into what felt like an eternity. Fatigue gnawed at our bodies, but the raw terror fueled our determination. Finally, just as dawn began to paint the eastern sky with a faint blush, we stumbled upon a sight that sent a fresh wave of horror crashing down. A crumbling stone structure, half buried by moss and creeping vines. It resembled an old chapel, but the oppressive aura surrounding it spoke of a place long abandoned by the living. Emma, her voice barely a whisper, revealed a chilling memory from a childhood visit to her grandmother. The Darkwood legend spoke of a forgotten chapel, said to be a gateway to the spirit world. A cold dread wrapped itself around me. Had Mike become a victim of this dark legend? Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the pre-dawn silence. It came from within the ruined chapel. It was unmistakably Mike's voice, filled with raw terror and a desperate plea for help. Without a second thought, we charged towards the chapel, the rising sun offering a sliver of hope against the encroaching darkness. The chapel door hung by a single rusty hinge, groaning open as we pushed against it. The interior was a desolate scene, sunlight struggling to pierce the dusty air. In the center, an intricate pentagram was etched into the cold stone floor, glowing with an unnatural, ethereal light. And within the pentagram, held captive by invisible chains, was Mike. His face was contorted in terror, his eyes locked on a figure standing opposite him. It was the same skeletal figure we had seen at the campsite, but now it appeared even more monstrous, its body radiating a dark power. It spoke in a voice that seemed to echo through the very air itself, a guttural rasp promising eternal torment for Mike's soul. Panic threatened to consume me, but Emma, ever the resourceful one, spotted a dusty old book lying open on a nearby stone pedestal. It was an ancient text, filled with cryptic symbols and rituals. With shaking hands, she flipped through the pages, desperately searching for an answer. Hope flickered when she landed on a specific page. It depicted a complex symbol, accompanied by hastily scribbled notes about banishment rituals. We had a chance, however slim. While Emma deciphered the steps, John and I did our best to distract the creature. We yelled, threw rocks, anything to break its concentration from Mike. The creature turned towards us, its hollow eyes filled with malice. It lunged, its skeletal hand reaching out. But before it could touch us, Emma shouted, her voice shaking but determined. Following the instructions, we traced the symbol in the air with a twig she found, chanting the archaic words. The air crackled with unseen energy. The pentagram on the floor flared in blinding light. The creature screamed, a sound that shook the very foundations of the chapel. Then, with a final ear-splitting shriek, it vanished, leaving a lingering stench of sulfur in its wake. The light subsided, revealing a weakened but unharmed Mike. Relief washed over us in a powerful wave. We embraced, tears streaming down our faces. We had survived the night, albeit changed forever by what we had witnessed. Leaving the ruins behind, we stumbled back towards the familiar path, the rising sun finally breaking through the thick canopy of leaves. Darkwood Forest had taken its toll, leaving behind a deep sense of unease and a chilling reminder of the unseen forces that lurked in the shadows. It was a weekend getaway we wouldn't soon forget, a stark reminder that some legends are best left undisturbed. As we emerged from the woods, blinking at the harsh sunlight, we knew we were forever bound by a shared secret, a chilling encounter with the darkness that resided deep within Darkwood Forest.